Welcome to Double Helix, where everything is connected. Hey there, awesome viewers and listeners. I'm your host, Mark Merritt, and on this show, we're going to dive into the fascinating web of connections that shape our health and our lives. From our physical and psychological well being to our emotional and spiritual growth. We'll explore how these connections, whether they're with the people around us or in intricate networks within ourselves, all the way down to our DNA, and how that can transform our lives for the better. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up for episodes that resonate with you. Let's get connected. It's going to be a fun day. We had a great opportunity to reconnect with Chandler Fausett. It's not really reconnect. Chandler is with a company called Aligned Media Productions. And so we had an opportunity to visit and chat a little while ago. We've stayed connected for a lot of years, and so we'll talk a little bit about that today. But Chandler runs Aligned Media Productions, which I had a chance. This is the first time this last week that I actually went through and let me go through your website. Let me go just for fun, right? There's a lot of really cool things that you've done in there.
Thanks.
And yeah. So I've known Chandler now 20 years, 18, 19 years. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Because when Victoria and I got married, that's when I moved into your neighborhood.
Yep.
And you were like 4. No.
Pretty close. Maybe
No,
maybe
no, no, no.
14, 16. I don't
Maybe
know.
14, 6, somewhere. There was a 4 somewhere, I
Yeah.
guess. But Chandler and his family lived right around the corner from us. And so really we knew each other from church. We'd see each other at church and those kind of things. And really when our relationship took that next level, which is really cool, because last couple of weeks ago, I had Jeff and Kaylee on, and we were talking about the ins and outs of post accident when I was in the hospital. So I don't know if you happened to see that, but Kaylee was actually the nurse, and Jeff was the physical therapist there in the hospital right after the accident. So it was a fun conversation to have with them. Chandler, on the other hand, we actually really started connecting about 18 months after the accident. We'd seen each other and friendly and stuff, but Chandler then began to, you were in a class in high school, your senior year.
Yep. Yeah. Senior year
Tell
is
us
a
about that.
multimedia class. It was funny. I'd actually taken the same class the year before, and it was my senior year, and I was like, I got this extra open time. I don't want to just sit around and do nothing. So let's just take the same class again. And this year there was an opportunity to put together a project, and they said they gave us all sorts of different categories. There were comedy, there were other things like that, and I considered all of them, but I really wanted to tell an inspirational story. And so let's just go with the documentary category. And immediately you popped in my head first. It was not even a question. Immediately thought about who's someone who's made a good impact on my life. And yeah, I mean, just the perseverance you had with post accident and your mindset through all of it. I was like, yeah, I've got to do this.
I wasn't very amenable at first.
What do you mean? Yeah,
So,
you were like, I guess we'll do this. I
no,
mean,
at first when you approached me, hey, I want to do this documentary. I'm like, it's okay. I'm fine.
yeah, it's a little scary doing something like that. Yeah.
The perseverance factor was really on your side because you kept coming back. And finally, I was like, all right, you wore me down. Let's do this.
Yeah.
But it was a really cool, in some ways, it was a really cool project because then during that project, I think you connected with Nate Jones. I think that's the first time you guys connected.
Yep.
And Nate was actually on an episode a few weeks ago. But yeah, Nate and I have known each other forever. And then you guys connected. Tell me about the process of making that video that you went through.
Yeah. I remember you calling me and telling me that yes, you would do this, and I was really excited. But of course, I had no idea what I was doing. Like it was a matter of, okay, we're just gonna figure this out. I also remember I was like, hey, let's find a time to get together and film this interview. And I remember like assets that we had as far as equipment were very limited at the school. And there were other schools like Westlake High School at the time was brand new. They had everything. We had the top of the line gear and all this stuff. And so the first thing was trying to figure like how the heck am I going to film this? I don't know anything about filming with a camera. Everything before has just all been teaching us how to edit and other things like that. And they allowed us to use a GoPro and then some other camera was like some digital. It wasn't even a DSLR. I have no idea what the camera was, to be honest with you. And so I
I don't
was,
remember
yeah,
either.
no, I just remember having like, two different things set up. But you were saying, yeah, I'm happy to like schedule this. Chandler, the one thing we got to figure out is like, what are the questions that you're going to ask? What does this look like? And I was like, I don't know. I was actually pretty nervous because I didn't want to waste your time and I had no idea where to go. I had this teacher, and I have to talk about him for a second before we get into everything else. He was the most helpful teacher that actually took an interest in my life. I think that goes a long way um, with the in the educational system. He really wanted to help, so he helped me come with some questions to ask you, and then ask anybody else that was involved. And so we determined we'd go and talk with the emergency team that was able to pick you up. And so we talked to the Pleasant Grove Fire Department. We talked with Nate Jones, who knew you before the accident, Jason Strong, that knew you before the accident, and just we wanted to tell the story about the same mind, regardless of the physical component. And we just started building the story. He just helped me figure it out. I mean, you and I figured it out together too. I was asking like, who should we interview? And you talked about Nate. You talked about your trainers at the in the hand cycling world and everything like that. And man, every single one of those people was so excited. And I think about it now, how hard it is to get people to commit to being interviewed on in a professional scale. For me to
Yeah,
ask people, I
yeah.
mean, I'm filming something in 2 weeks and I have to start casting a bunch of extras and actors. It's not easy. These people jumped at the opportunity, which speaks volumes of you, that they were willing
Oh,
to talk about you. That's awesome. The whole process was an absolute dream. And now knowing where I am now and what I do professionally, I feel so lucky I get to do that. It's interesting, organic it was to just get people to jump at the opportunity to speak about Mark Merritt.
it was it was an interesting process, having I it's funny, I don't remember you going down to the facility and filming at where I trained, which was Elevate down in Orem, Utah.
Yeah.
And actually, Rich is gonna be on.
Oh, really?
I got Rich coming on here soon too.
That's cool.
And I don't remember you being there filming, but in the video it is.
Yeah.
You're like, "Okay, you had to have been there, right?"
Yeah.
But those of you that don't know, like, what Chandler ended up producing was just about an 8-minute video that he won if it was 2nd place in the high school film festival.
Yep. Yeah. Which I did not expect to win anything like at all. I was just so excited to put this together, and it was something we worked on. We put it in the Utah High School Film Festival, which was a choice that we could do or not. I was like, yeah, why not? And then we took a field trip with the school to go up to the film festival, and they played all these different videos of all these different categories, and they moved to documentary and they showed I was hoping, but they show third place winner. I was like, ah, dang it, I didn't get it. Because if I'm gonna win, it's gonna be third place for sure. And then second place pops up, and I was like, oh my gosh, no way. We just did that. I was so excited. And my teacher, man, it makes me emotional, like just thinking about it. He got over to me and he just was so excited. He grabbed my shoulders and he gave me a little elbow. You did it, man. We did it. And he was so
Yeah.
excited. He's like, go down on the stage. You got to go down. I called you as I was walking down the stairs to go accept the award. I was like, Mark, we got second place. And man, I was so excited because again, I didn't expect anything. And of course, I was talking about Westlake High School earlier. They had all the equipment. They won first place, whoever that was. But yeah, that was a really magical moment. Yeah, second place. And I was like, wow, maybe I'm actually good at this.
Yeah, so actually those of you that are watching or listening, especially if you're gonna watch, at the end of our conversation today, I'm actually gonna attach that 8-minute video so you can see what Chandler did on his first go around in video production,
Yeah,
right? And
17 years old, really not great equipment, 480p, mind you, and the export does not look great, but we're also working on another thing right now that we filmed a little while ago, a couple years ago, that of this like secondary story, which we'll have that completed, and maybe we can upload that again later on and stuff. But yeah, it's fun to see the difference in almost 20 years.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So when Chandler talks about the other thing that they're working on a couple of years ago, yeah, we had Chandler came up and did another shoot, a follow up 16 years or 15, 16 years later. And that particular day, I did something, I'd set a goal as I got out of my wheelchair more and more that I was actually going to be able to finish the wildland firefighter pack test. And while I didn't carry the weight, you usually have to carry 40 pounds and you have 45 minutes to go 4 miles. I didn't carry the weight, but I completed the time. I was able to get that time done, which was a big deal. And since then, mobility's done this as time's gone on. But I had that pinnacle point where Chandler came up and I had worked a lot of months and we did a bunch of filming that day, which was fun.
Yeah.
The hard part about that one, to be honest with you, was we were living in Iowa at the time and the elevation was like 800 feet at our house or something. I don't remember what it's super, super low. And then we're up here in the mountains. And I swear I was gasping for air.
You couldn't tell though. Yeah, you couldn't tell at all. You crushed it. That was so cool. I'm excited to see what we need to do, Mark, is when it's done, we need to get together and watch it together because that'll be so fun to see your
Yeah.
reaction. But I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but seeing if you see Mark's X-rays, you'd be like, this is a like a puzzle that I see a 500 piece puzzle. I'm like, I'm out. Screw that. I'm not touching that. This was an absolute overhaul for the people involved to fix your legs.
Yeah.
And to go from that to running 4 miles, Mark, I am holding that gimbal in my hands, or whichever one I had, and I'm running backwards, and I don't know if I'm bawling. I was so overcome with emotion that I could not believe that my friend from the last time we filmed was limping into his car, and now he's running 4 miles. Is like, gosh, that if that's not a motivating factor for people who have limiting beliefs, like, that's unbelievable. There's nothing you can't do, and that was such a cool moment. I'm excited to hopefully the camera wasn't too shaky. I was
You had a little bit different camera equipment than the first time we went around.
very much, life savings on real equipment, going from 480p to 4K.
Yeah, that was a fun day. It was you mentioned you were feeling emotional while you're going around the track with me. It was very much that way when I finished. It reminded me of, let's see, we all have big events in our lives, and mine has a lot of those since the accident have to do with reaching certain milestones. The first marathon I finished was the Utah Valley Marathon. And that was actually on a bike that Brigham Young University owned, and they loaned me for the summer. They didn't have students using them, and I swear this thing was made like in 1900. It was this it was like a solid steel. It was so heavy, but I'm doing that marathon and we were going down Provo Canyon a bit, and then all of a sudden they went off on the Provo River Trail that went all the way down to Utah Lake. And those of you that don't know, it's an isolated trail. There, it goes underneath roads, or there's just you're not crossing roads, which was a great place to go. But you end up having no support, and it was my first marathon. And so I go down the whole Provo River Trail, get down to the end at the lake, and then you start coming up Center Street in Provo, and that's where Victoria met me because she was my support vehicle. It was my first one ever. And so she's in the truck in front of me and I'm cruising along. And I went from going, and I wasn't super fast then. It was my first one. So I maybe was going 15 miles an hour, which is really slow when compared to what I was doing when I got much more into hand cycling within a few years. But I was going like 15 miles an hour. And then within about a half a mile, I dropped from 15 to 10. And I'd never had it before I hit the wall. that distance and endurance runners, they talk about hitting the wall. And I hit that. And Victoria stops and she comes back and she goes, "What's going on?" I still laugh because I am bawling. And she goes, "What's wrong?" "I don't know. I don't know what to do." It's just I I had run all the sugar out of my body. So my brain was just like, I don't know. So she grabs this. I had this jug of endurance gel, the stuff that the athletes use. And she goes and grabs this jug out of the truck. I take a swig, drink a bunch of water, and I go, "What do I do?" And I'm asking her, "What do I do?" And she goes, "Just start pedaling. It'll get better." And so within a couple blocks, all of a sudden my brain came back online. It was the weirdest thing. But when I finally crossed the finish line, that was pretty emotional, right? About the same time period that a year or so before we did the last filming, my brothers and I were fishing up in Idaho, and we went off of Wood Road. I think it's Wood Road 8. It's up north of Idaho Falls. It goes along the river there, but you have to come down several hundred feet down to the river from the top. And so I get sticks and everything like that. And it's funny, my dad had a hold of the belt of my pants as we were going downhill. And if my feet slipped out, all of a sudden I'm wedgied. And we got down to the bottom, we fished for a while, had a good time. And then I turned and looked up, and you're going up. And so you grab the sticks and you just start slowly getting to the top. And I felt that way. I got in the truck when I finally reached the top, and I sat in the truck and I started crying because it was something I didn't think I could do. When we have those goals and those things almost seems impossible or very much improbable that we can get there. I really worried about getting out of that ravine.
I bet.
I really worried about finishing that first marathon. And then when we did the pack test, it was the same way. I'm very much competitive. And so I was going to finish. I didn't know if I would get it in time, but it was to have set that goal a year before that I was going to do the pack test and finish it. It was the same kind of thing.
Absolutely. Just felt like, and I know that everybody around you too, and I can't speak for those other events that you're talking about, but it was, what's that song? Is it called like Champions or Celebrations? Like dun 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 dun. Like,
Oh,
but
it's
everybody's like,
Chariots of Fire.
"Thank you, Cheers
You're
of
doing
Fire,"
Chariots of
and
Fire.
everybody's like rushing to you to be like, "Oh," because we all know how cool that is. Yeah, for me to run a 4 minute mile, I think people probably celebrate that too, though.
Let's be really clear. I did not run a 4-minute mile.
Wow, I apologize.
I'm
Let's
like,
reverse
I'm so not
everyone. Yeah, 4 miles
in 45,
in 45
45.
minutes.
I
Mark,
was going to go.
I can't believe you ran the 4 minute mile to go from
It
those.
was amazing.
Unbelievable. Only 12 people have done that in existence. You did it. I'm just kidding. That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
did my first marathon. I think I don't remember the time. I'd have to look back at the time, but I posted online that I did it this time. And I had actually had a cousin that was not aware that I had been in an accident and was in a wheelchair. And they came back and go, "Yeah, that's world record speed. I'm not certain that do you really certain that?" And then it was funny. Another cousin comes in and going, "No, he's in a wheelchair."
Yeah.
But even then, it was really, from a hand cycle standpoint, it was really slow. The fastest I'd ever done it after that was 1 hour and 3 minutes was the marathon time.
Yeah. See, that sounds
And
amazing. I don't think most
that
kids.
was my fastest time. But yeah, but that was on a much better bike and a different course.
Yeah. No, that's
So
awesome. That's so cool. Not a steel bike rented from BYU.
no, this was not. This was, let me think. Yeah, no, you actually, I think in the first video, you have the bike that I was using. I did a lot of modifications to it after that, but I think that in that one, you have that bike.
Oh, really? Okay. That's
I think
cool.
that's the one.
That was fun.
And that was actually in the St. George Marathon. It was when I did that top speed. And I'm hoping to get somebody on that was right there with me in that race towards the end. And it's a fun story. But as we were, I don't know if you've been to the St. George Marathon course.
Mm. No, I haven't.
So it starts up in a little town. I think it's called Central Utah, literally Central Utah. is the name of the town, and it's more like a little hamlet, right? There's not really a town there, and it's outside of St. George, but it goes through Veo, which is outside of St. George as well. By the way, if you ever anybody just shout out in Veo, Veo, is a little tiny store called Veo Pies. I'm not that hands down the best pies ever.
We love pie. Everybody loves pie.
Pie is always good. So if you're down in the St. George area, you've got to go to Veo Pies. But Veo actually sits right where the Virgin River comes through and it drops to the very, very bottom. And then you have about a mile and a half climb at about 1,500 feet elevation gain. So it's a fairly steep climb. As we came through Veo, at that point, I'd hit the fastest I had done ever, which was just shy of 55 miles an hour as I was coming down through that big hill. And you hit the bottom and you start climbing. And I knew the inside, the road banked, right? It had some camber too. So the inside is steeper, the outside is shallower. But I also knew that I'm a lot bigger than the average person. So I need to make sure I save my energy. So I went to the shallower side, which was more distance, right? Because you're going around a corner. And at that time period, her name is Muffy Davis. She just came back from the world championships of hand cycling. And she's amazing. And we're cruising along, and there's this other guy that's kind of latched himself onto me as we're climbing this hill. And Muffy goes past on the inside turn and she yells over, "This is a race." Kind of like, "What are you doing? You're on the wrong side of the road. It's a race." And I was fine because I knew. But finally, once you hit about mile 12 of the St. George, it starts having some really huge downhills. And that's where I hit my top speed ever, which was 58 miles an hour.
That's crazy.
And so when I finally catch up to Muffy and the other guy that kind of tagged along me, he broke off and followed Muffy. I passed him, and then I'm pulling up to Muffy, and we're screaming down the road coming into St. George. And I yell something over to her. And she said, and she's kind of gave me the nod or whatever, and I just went right on past. And we're both coasting, so you're just coming down this big hill, but I weigh a ton more than she does. So gravity helped. And we got all the way to the finish line. And of course, the St. George newspaper has to interview her because she just came back from world champion. And she was the world champion, hand cycle, that kind of thing. And she made the comment that I came past her and I yelled at her, "These things are fast." And this was the first year I had that new bike. And I looked over at it and I said, "That is not what I said." She goes, "No, it is." I go, "No, it's not what I said." And she goes, "Well, what did you say?" And I said, "Gravity favors the fat guy."
That's pretty close.
They were close. I could see where
Yeah.
she got, "These things are fast."
You were talking about your biceps, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I ended up in second place. The guy who won the race, his name's Neil Harding. I had passed him early on because he had a little bit of a mechanical issue. So I took advantage of it. It's a race, right? You just keep going.
Yeah.
And then he passed me. And when we got to the finish line, there's a video of him saying he just knew that no matter what happened, he was going to have to sprint because he kept looking in his mirror going, "Mark's coming, Mark's coming," because he knew the big hills were in my favor. And he still beat me by 5 minutes.
Oh, that's insane. Wow.
Yeah, he was so fast.
Awesome.
So tell me about Aligned Media. Tell me about some of the stuff you guys are working on now.
Let's talk about the inception and then we'll get into that. So that's cool.
Okay.
So like
Yeah.
after working on that project, obviously I left for a couple years to go serve a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That was an
Yeah.
awesome time in Russia, and just trying to determine as I got home, what do I want to do? And dabbled in some other things. But the passion has always popped up. I've always wanted to do this video production ever since I was, gosh, 8, 10, 12 years old, making little videos and things like that. And you hear that story a lot from video guys. We see a camera, we put together a video, we have so much fun, and it's just this creative outlet. And then you find out that you can provide valuable services for businesses. and
Yeah.
help their businesses grow. And it's a creative outlet, and you're getting paid. And it's the most amazing, fulfilling career I've always dreamed of having. And I'm so grateful and lucky I get to see that. Uh, so in the beginning, I was working with some fitness companies, and I was lucky that fitness company referred me to CarQuest Auto Parts and some local franchise owners here in Utah. And the automotive thing started to become pretty big. We did some other things with like life coaches and some nonprofits. We got into the American Cancer Society, which also brought us into the healthcare industry. And that's just developed over time. We mainly work on projects within healthcare and automotive, also about to crack open some other industries, insurance, pharmaceutical, also still in the medical and healthcare industry, and then some law firms that we're starting to work with. And so a lot of these different organizations, they have like our niche of the three or four main
Yeah.
businesses that we focus on. We could do it all, but it's like and we do. A lot of times we get random projects that pop up. Also work on some long-term documentaries. We've been working on a couple with a really cool guy, a good friend who escaped an abusive situation from polygamy here in Utah. And his whole story is very inspiring. So there's some things like that. But for the most part, it's working with these automotive companies. We've been able to get some really cool projects we've been working with, like with Jiffy Lube. eBay Motors has been a really great client of ours for a long time. um, again, CarQuest, we've been working with them for 8 years almost. No, I guess technically it's 7 years right now. So we've been able to have these relationships. And I love cars. I love filming
Yeah.
anything within the car world. I love parts. I don't really know much about how to dismantle a vehicle, but we sure film a lot about it, the different parts, selling or launching new product lines for different brands. We just worked with eBay Motors on a project for their exclusive brand that they're working with one of their sellers brands. And man, it's just been really fun. Absolutely enjoy it. And I really feel the focus that we have, my company slogan is align media with a vision. We focus on the true AI, the authentic intelligence, and really telling true, real stories of real businesses and providing them with really high quality content. We just bought my dream camera has always been a red. They use red cameras in various high end productions, both commercial and uh, documentary, and also in the film world. I've got this thing sitting right over here. It's an 8K camera, 17 stops with dynamic range. The camera is incredible. We just really bought that in December. And so we've already been able to do a couple projects with that camera. And again, the whole point is providing people with a really high end product without breaking the bank, while meaning, having a competitive price point that
Yeah.
matters to business owners, but also we're very result driven, which a lot of companies like to hear. We've partnered with a couple of advertising agencies that will run ad campaigns, nurture campaigns, and targeted remarketing campaigns for clients with these video assets. And one of the things that we like to do as well is we give clients unlimited perpetuity. So whenever we work with actors, we pay the actors whatever they want. So no, not whatever they want, extra, so that we don't have to worry about a 12 to 16-week cycle. A lot of businesses love that they can use these videos without having to pay us for a new license every 3 to 6 months, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. Yeah, things there. And again, the passion there. We write scripts, we storyboard, we obviously film, edit, and we work with you on the post production, not post production, the actual rollout of the assets. We want to make sure the assets are going to deliver you results.
That's I'm still baffled at 8K camera. So,
Yeah.
my brain's stuck there. That's actually cool. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
what do you see as some of the skills if somebody wanted to get into what you're doing? What do you see as some of the skills that are crucial for someone to do that?
Gosh, so I've worked with a lot of people that I've had work with me as contracted work and other things there. And I think the theme that there's a difference between someone who is just a videographer who goes and just films and asks the client what the story is, versus someone who's a storyteller and a creative and can also film and can also edit and can also understand who you're speaking to as a
Right.
as an who your audience is. And it's hard to do that when every client speaks to a different audience. It's not the same. Everybody likes to think that their products can be sold to anyone, and that's just not true. And we all know that. Not we all, but a lot of us understand that. We get really specific on who we're selling to and what we're selling, why we're selling it, and getting really clear on that messaging. I did go to college for a couple years and took a couple film classes, and the teacher at our class actually gave me some of the best advice anybody gave me in college was you will learn a lot more by just going out into the field and figuring it out. And that has been the theme. I highly recommend college education. It's a great. I just think for me, that was a big light bulb click for me. And I saw that the teacher was absolutely correct. So I just started going out and doing stuff and filming fun things and filming with friends. I worked with a production company for about a year and a half on various projects from like super low end to super crazy high end $1 million budget plus type commercials. And it was really fun to see where I fit because no matter where you're at in your video world, you do fit somewhere and
Yeah.
you can also get to the point where you want to be. Filming is a science as far as lighting, and although the software is not doing the justice of the camera here, like we have Rembrandt lighting set up and all these different things to create a cool angle and everything. There's a really couple great resources that I highly recommend and approve of. Full-time filmmaker, there's a plug for them. I've taken some of their courses to teach you on lighting and things like that. You can just learn, go out and do it, figure it out. And it's not going to be perfect and pretty. And like you could judge every commercial we've ever made, and you could judge any commercial that's ever made. No, they broke this rule or they broke that rule, or that's a weird shot. We're figuring it out. And I think that's the theme is just go out and figure it out. And you can really start anywhere. I do think the most important thing as anyone who's involved in video is to get to the heart of the message. Even if you're telling a story for CarQuest Auto Parts or something like that, there's always a way to tell the heart, whether you're using comedy, emotion, whatever that might end up being. Um, yeah, just really try to understand what the business is trying to tell or the individual is trying to tell and get to the heart of that message and focus on your passion and creativity. I think you'll be able to put anything together that's awesome. That's definitely how I feel.
Yeah. So as you think about all the years that you've done video, probably hundreds of videos,
Oh yeah.
not thinking, I don't want you to talk about me at all, but are there certain videos or projects that stand out that really had an impact?
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. They all do, for the record. Every single one of them has an impact on me because I pour everything into it. And my wife actually comments often that she can see that sometimes there's just so much emotional attachment to the project. I want it to be successful. I really, just get enveloped in it and try to put myself in the shoes of the consumer. Like, why would I want to buy
Yeah.
this? Or if the consumer doesn't always have to be a product related thing, but if I'm going to consume this content, like, what
Right.
am I wanting to do? There have been obviously, Mark, 100%. Your project was the impetus of this whole thing. I'm good at this. This is so much fun. I made people in that room at the Utah High School Film Festival cry. They believe they could do anything after watching your video. And that's an amazing emotion that was emitted from this video. And
Yeah.
you can do that. You do the same thing like, oh man, that was such a cool Jiffy Lube commercial. I've got it pulled up right here. I want to take my car to Jiffy Lube. And like, yes, I did it. So every client I've worked with has had an impact on me. But I would say my favorite project I've ever filmed, I do have a favorite,
Yeah, I'd
um,
love to hear it.
was actually for a tire company in Cincinnati, Ohio. These guys, this was for eBay. eBay had selected this specific seller for us to go out and do a featured story about them and to create some listing videos for their eBay store. And it was the most exciting project because the sellers the guy was so excited for us to come out and film what he'd always wanted to film. And because eBay was
Yeah.
taking care of the bill, they had the ability to finally produce this. And they were so grateful to eBay. They were so excited. And we got to go out into the outskirts of outside of Cincinnati, is about a 50 to 60-minute drive. And they don't really have the kind of off-roading blessings that we have here in Utah in that specific area. But we found this, I'll send you the video, Mark. It's
Yeah.
I tried some really creative shots that were I was afraid of. I'd never done them before. I watched several tutorials on how to do it. I didn't even practice it. I was just like, I'm gonna go out and figure it out. And that's one of the greatest pieces of advice that another video guy gave me was sometimes you just go out and just you have to figure it out. And because you have to do it, it's gonna turn up. And I did some cool shots. Like I did a dolly zoom shot, which you see where the background zooms in as you're walking into the person. So like you're adjusting
Oh,
the
yeah.
focal point of your lens simultaneously. So I'm at 24 millimeters and then I'm zooming it into 70 millimeters. And I'm also simultaneously walking towards them. The background's being pulled in. The shot is just so cool. And I did the shot probably 18 to 20 times. You can ask the guys that were on the set with me that, yeah, I did that so many times and there were wasps everywhere, like landing on me. And I hate wasps, but I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to freaking do this. And I got it over and over again. And the shot turned out so cool. We got permission to fly our drone over the bridge that connects from one side of the Cincinnati area to the other side. We did the off-roading footage of this really cool river, and they wanted to do this progressive shot where it was like a Jeep, then a truck, then another Jeep. And it was like, boom, just connected they in the same position. The shots were so cool. And I wonder how cool they would have been with the red camera, but this was with my other
Yeah.
stuff. That project had so much impact on me because we poured our heart and souls into it for a tire company. And
Yeah.
when clients ask me, what's your best video to give me an example? I don't have a reel. I send them that video. And
Nice.
that's the video I send to get jobs. And because I'm so confident and people tell me all the time, oh, that is the coolest video you've ever made. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And I'm like, man, I want to do it better now. I want to do the next one that's
Yeah.
better, you know.
You're gonna go out to Ohio with your red camera.
Yeah, but hey, can we do that again? Yes. And also another reason why is we had Cincinnati, I guess Ohio in general has this ice cream place, and I love ice cream, and it's called Grater's Ice Cream. And man, every day I would get two gigantic scoops of ice cream. We were there for 3 days, and man, I love the project.
Of course you love ice cream. You're from Utah, and ice cream is a whole its own food group here.
True. Yeah, we have nothing else. Okay.
Victoria and I were out and about last night and we got done and she goes, "Okay, so what do you want for dessert?" And I sat there and man, if I get a gallon of ice cream, I just know what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit at home and eat a gallon of ice cream.
Yeah, true. That sounds like a great time right now for breakfast. 100%.
Exactly. So I noticed a while back, I noticed that your dad jumped in and got involved as well. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that was thinking back at that. I think it was for 3 years we worked together. And I had this feeling that I'm going to look back at those 3 years as cherished time because he was in between job situations and he chose to work with his son. And growing up, you know, he was always busy with work. I was going to school. We all doing our things. It was so fun to connect with my dad that way and be with each other almost every
Yeah.
day for 3 years. And that was awesome. And now he's working, pretty cool role over at Sun Pro, and he's doing that over there. And um, I've been waiting for this family friend has a son that was on a mission, and I just think the world of this guy. He's such a good when you see like good quality person, and people are so mean about youth and things like that. But I saw his potential, and I was like, I want to work with that kid. And he just got home from his mission, and I always told him like, when you come home, you got a job, bro. And he just got home, so now he and I are working together, and it's been really
Cool.
fun to like have the time to work with my dad, and now I get this cherished time to work with this guy, however long I'm gonna be able to get him. It's fun working with people. They say to not work with family, but I think or friends. I think that, obviously there's challenging things that happen, but at the same time, like those are cherished times that I'll always be grateful for. My dad
Yeah.
was able to be on different projects with me. I'd say one of the most impactful projects with him and I together. My dad had never really been out of the country, and I'm sorry, but I don't call and count Cancun as out of the country too much. But we had this project with this client, with this Indian doctor. They hired me to come out for 5 or 6 weeks all over Italy and Germany. and filmed with them. It was really a cool project. I would say this is probably also like another huge impactful project. But while we were there, we met this really nice lady named Suyogi in Berlin, and she was so nice. We took a liking to each other, and she just her and her husband were like, "Hey, like we should have you guys come back out and film some stuff for us." I said, "Okay, when?" So literally 4 weeks after being gone for 5 weeks, my dad and I actually get to go to Berlin, and we had an
I remember
amazing
your
yeah.
Facebook
You remember
postings.
that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah, I remember the Facebook postings. Yeah,
Because we were making Jason Bourne references the entire time. Because if you've watched Jason Bourne, there's a bunch of connection to Berlin and that
yeah.
hotel there and everything. And so my dad and I, we were there for a whole week filming a ton of course content and promo videos and building website content for this lady, her book that she had come out that is just so cool, called the Heart Journal. We did this amazing project with this very good person, and it was just so fun to be there with my dad. Like he'd never been to Europe and he hasn't been since. So it was like it was so cool we got to go there together.
Yeah.
We were actually there on a Sunday too, over a Sunday. And like we decided to take the day off. We went to church there and it was really cool. And it was an English speaking ward out in Berlin. And we just had so much fun. I was so glad we got to do that.
That's cool. That's always cool to get to have those opportunities. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
And you've always been really close to your dad.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
couldn't imagine like getting that opportunity though. That was like something you just can't imagine. So it was so cool.
Yeah. So yeah, when you yeah, that's actually really awesome. And one of the pieces that I've looked at when it comes to this podcast with Double Helix, when we talk about building those connections and how important connections are for our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, right? Having those across and relationships with individuals like your dad hits almost every one of those, right? It can hit every aspect inside and out. And so I think it's really important that we have those. But when you were talking about some of your favorite projects, I had a flashback to Nate Jones. Have you seen his Dave Malarkeys?
Oh my gosh, of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
those of you
Yeah.
that have not, you need to go onto YouTube and and type Dave Malarkey, and he does some ad spots for some company, and I can't remember the name of the company, but does some ad spots for this company, and he is the CEO of this company. And there's a few of those you'll just cry laughing because it's just
He's so funny.
yeah, he
The one
is.
where he gets hurt and he goes, he just like looks in the camera. He's just so funny. I can't. I love Nate.
The one that I love and the
Oh, sweet. What did he
spoils
say?
sweet
Georgia.
baby Brown, sweet Georgia Brown.
So funny.
The one that I love is where email's gone down and he gets shot with an arrow and he's looking down going, I guess that meeting's been pushed back.
Yes, that's the one I was just thinking about too. It just goes, sounds so funny.
I don't know how they pulled all the stuff off they did in that, but there's some good ones.
It's true. Those are gold. I love Nate. And it's been fun from the documentary project we did together. You connect me with him. He's helped me a lot with voiceover projects. It's been a while because well, maybe 8 to 10 months or something, because the eBay client we were working with, they're like, we want to start having the sellers tell their story. And instead of a voiceover, we want to start telling them. I was like, all right, what about Nate? So there's
Yeah.
a lot of other things that he's done. He's also helped me writing scripts. He's very talented with writing. He's a published author, and he's also a doctor.
Yeah. I have a hard time when I think doctor, and he knows this because from the first time he and I met back in college,
Yeah.
all I could think about was the little kid in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh gosh.
Dr.
Dr.
Jones.
Jones. Yeah, I know.
And so the moment I met him, met Nate, that's what I always called him was Dr. Jones. And he called me the day that he was announced or whatever bestowed. I don't know what they call it, where he became Dr. Jones. And he said all he could hear in his brain was Dr. Jones.
Of course. That's so funny. When I like right after he got his thing, I didn't do that because I didn't know if he would laugh at that or not. But
Oh yeah, he would have.
I did call him. I was like, Dr. Jones. I just I was like giving him a little hard time. Dude, this is crazy. I know Dr. Jones. Are we gonna go find like some like historical artifact and transform to another universe? Let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, I've joked with him about that for, let's see, he and we were talking, I don't know, it's been 37 years that we've known each other.
That's
And I've
yeah,
done that to him that whole time.
yeah. Yeah, that's I love it. He's the best. He's literally a gem of a human being. Even though he's a Utes fan, but
We all have things. No,
just kidding. I like them too. They're great.
my attitude is around schools here in Utah is if we're playing each other, I always want the Aggies to win. I'm just saying,
Fair.
right?
Yeah.
I always want the Aggies to win. But if we're playing outside of Utah,
Yeah.
I want all Utah schools to win. I don't care.
100%.
Yeah, we just want to represent Utah. Go out and play somewhere else. Beat up whoever you're playing, right?
It's true.
BYU, fine. It's like let's represent well.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree. I loved the Cam Rising days. I was a total fangirl during that time frame. It was so cool. And unfortunately, those days are over.
Yeah,
Now we got Jake Retzlaff for BYU. BYU, one of our teams has to be good at least. Yeah, like just give us one at a time.
just one at a time.
Just
Yeah.
one at a time, at least, please.
We had Jordan Love for a while
Yeah.
up at Utah State.
Yep.
He was so much fun to watch play.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, that's great. Love it.
well, Chandler, man, I so appreciate you coming on and spending a few minutes with us today. And it's always good to visit with you. We don't visit enough together.
I agree.
But yeah, it's always good to visit with you. And I'm going to put a link in for your company into the description.
Cool.
So people want to see what you do and that kind of stuff. We can do that, as well as I'll attach that original video to the end of this.
Sweet.
So that we'll just transition from here right over to that.
Yeah, I love it. It'll be so fun. It's like going back in time and it's so cool. Yeah. And I'll send you the link of that Cincinnati tire project.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right. Thank you, buddy. It's sure good to talk with you.
Good to talk to you.
Okay. Have a great day.
Mark Merritt in one word. Is that possible? Vibrant.
Energy.
A go-getter.
Energy.
I would describe him as kind of comical.
It's a toss-up between dedicated and motivated.
I would definitely have to say perseverance.
The best way, I guess, to explain myself is I'm an eternal optimist.
What I love about Mark is the fact that his attitude has never changed. He has chosen to be optimistic.
I don't know if I've ever met anybody that is so full of life and energy that Mark is.
Well, just about 2 years ago, I was in an accident.
Earlier in the week, John Kaiser and I were actually working with him, cutting down a large tree on the west side of his property. In fact, we were helping him the day before the accident. The day of the accident, I was out in the front yard doing some yard work, and I could hear throughout the morning his chainsaw going. I knew he was working on that tree. And at one point, I just heard this large crashing sound. and I don't know what it was about that sound, but I just froze. And there was maybe a 1 to 2 second pause before I heard him yelling.
We got dispatched and it sounded like they said somebody fell out of a tree, possible height of 30, 40 feet.
Get to the back, he's laying kind of on the north side of the tree, and we could see that he'd taken most of the fall on his legs, so we kind of started working on him from there. And
Coming on that call, from the sounds of it, it sounded pretty serious. Once we got there and we saw the patient, it looked more serious than we initially thought.
They got me to the hospital, and they did all those things. Basically, over the next few days, I had 5 different surgeries. I was in the operating room total of 26 hours, a period of time. 14 of that was in one surgery, which was the one that rebuilt one of my legs.
I don't know how an experience like that couldn't change you to one degree or another. But I couldn't tell you how he's changed, because he seems to be the same person to me now.
He was so quick to put me at ease, as if to say, it's still me. I'm the same guy. I'm just in this thing. There's nothing different.
I committed to do a marathon in June, and I was hoping to do it in a racing wheelchair, and I was trying to raise some funds to help get me a racing wheelchair and those kind of things. And it wasn't gonna pan out that I was gonna get a chair in time, and so I was so determined to do the marathon. I was gonna do it in my everyday chair.
We really wanted to sponsor Mark because we feel like he's the essence of what we're trying to promote here at Elevate. People that overcome challenges, whether it's handicaps like Mark's dealing with his legs, or if it's somebody with diabetes, or somebody with, has just went through a stroke, or anything that has challenges in their lives, that are willing to take it, head on and move forward.
Hand cycling, I just love it. It's something that I couldn't do. I would have never even thought of if I hadn't been in this accident.
He likes the sport. He likes being involved in the sport.
He's a very active guy. Name his sport, he's tried.
His potential is only limited by what his motivation is at this point. It could be as high and as competitive as possible in the national level or whatever level he sees appropriate. I think he has the drive, I think he has the motivation, I think he has the ability to, exceed in whatever he's trying to do.
This is the difference between somebody who is training with his legs, right here, and somebody training with his flipping arm. Look at that. He's gigantic, man. It's as big as my cranium.
Anybody that can, have an accident like that happen to them and then not let it keep them down, and go out and do the things that he does, in his hand bike and stuff like that is just awesome.
You know what? I don't have the right to complain. I don't have the right to say I hurt when I'm hurting. Because right now, I'll be honest with you, right now, I'm hurting. My legs right now feel like I'm just on fire. I have lots of pain in my left ankle and foot, and my bottom right foot just feels like I'm sitting on top of something hot. But but I've learned how to block that out, because one of the things is I've learned there's just why complain? No one listens. No, I'm just kidding. But I sit and think, no matter what I feel, no matter how I'm feeling, $100 says there's somebody that I personally know that's hurting more than I am right now. So what room do I have to complain?
He lets nothing change his attitude.
You can look at it and say, woe is me, life stinks. Look at the terrible hand that life dealt me. Okay? Or I could say, what can I do? What is within my power?
He's just a loving person, and that's what's just so amazing about him.
I don't see myself as in a chair. My wife doesn't see me as in a chair. other people see me as I'm in a chair because they don't know what that's like. But I don't see it that way because I choose to find those things that are within my circle of influence that I can affect. And I think that's one thing that I would tell people is find what you have the ability to make a change that you have. Don't worry about the stuff that you can't affect. Worry about the things that you do have the ability to make a difference.